Well, here I am ready to make another video, and one thing, I apologize if you can hear the TV downstairs. I live in a mansion, and the way that room is just loud. Sorry about that. But anyways, I'm gonna try and remember exactly what I'm trying to do here, and I guess to say, like what I have to say here, what I was thinking of in the past. Okay, just have to find my notes. The various things that I think about, and I guess a general thing I'm thinking about is society. And in the past, I've thought about like how I wanted to help society, and I've had these thoughts, but then I realized that it's so rotten that there's no point in even trying to help them. Like how backwards they are and all things like that. The world thinking capacity, etc. Anyways, yeah. Society itself in recent years, though it's always been like this, has been, I guess, just getting worse. Worse and worse and worse and worse until everyone's just enslaved. I feel like that's just going to be the way that things are, because it's human nature to want to take over the other humans. Keep them in squalor as you gain wealth. And eventually I feel as if it will be that way. So if it will be that way, in increasing likelihood, it puts a lot of questions to mind. Many people think, well, the world is so shit, I must avoid having children, because the world's so shit, they're gonna have microplastics in their balls, oh no. And the other side, which is because of whatever reason, I must procreate as much as possible to populate the world and potentially fix these issues. And that's just sort of how it is for both sides. They each go to extremes of the measure regarding natalism, and some are anti, some are pro. However, I feel as if the best way to do it is just taking a little from both. Because if you stop it altogether, eventually humanity will go extinct. Again, that's a lot of their, I guess, ideas. They really want it to go extinct. That's a huge anti-natalist proposition. Pro-natalists want it to continue and continue and continue. And you can see the benefits of both sides. However, I just feel as if forcing either upon people is shit. So I guess they can just choose the middle side of, if you want. Yeah, you can create children if you want. I feel like that's how it should be. There shouldn't really be that much restrictions and all that. Whereas I guess that was sort of a tangent connecting to society and my views on it. Like, society's so shit, so we have to stop it all, and then society's so shit, so we have to bring more minds, and potentially these minds could either make it more shit, or potentially they could somehow stop it, stop the cycle. And I guess it sort of ties back to Ted Kaczynski's manifesto, because in there it's stated that, let's say society, just some sort of analogy. So society would be a machine, and eventually this machine is going to collapse, but the fallout from its collapse will be much worse if nothing is done to prevent it. I mean, nothing is done to make it fall sooner. And that's just sort of how it is. Like, I guess that's sort of how I feel in society, but there's no real point in bringing society down either. maybe maybe the people could all just live in little villages again with their technology. There'd be no convenience, but perhaps there'd be more fulfillment. The writings that he made do intrigue me, so I should read more of it. Anyways, I guess another thing that makes society so rotten is, I guess, just over-sexualization to an extreme amount. Whores run rampant, touting body count, like, oh yes, I've had sex with 15 men, wow. And men do the same thing, well, I've had sex with 20 bitches. So that's just what they say. And the media perpetuates such things. Like, whoa, it's good to do that. Whoa, it's good to do that. You should keep on doing that. And all of that just makes problems infinitely worse. It reduces compassion by reducing value from the sexual experiences. A mere commodity which it shouldn't even be. I believe such things should be, I guess, somewhat sacred, or just between two people that actually love each other and all that, for it to have value. Reduce the value of one of the most, or a big part of human nature. It just makes the whole human experience even worse. Society more toxic, etc. It leads to people abusing healthcare, I guess. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, to kill tons of babies. Usually this is a ghetto thing, but oh yeah, I can't deal with no baby. Something I'm trying to impersonate a fat black woman, but I can't really do that. So yeah, they just kill the children over and over again to perpetuate their, I forgot the word, I don't really know the word right now, but their, I guess yes, negligence, to pursue their freedom, which they have no freedom. They're a slave to their own vices, and just keep on doing it over and over again until they die. And they're so afraid of death because they want to continue this bullshit, this same cycle over and over again, while bringing death to those that they could create. The parts of themselves, they're literally killing parts of themselves over and over and over and over and over and over again, just so they can feel the pleasure. And as the already deviant, I guess, or generated society continues to corrode around them, eventually bringing them to squalor, they continue their ways, and then they die. This is a big pattern for humanity, and I guess it's mostly apparent in slums and ghettos and all that. But this culture is expanding to encompass the wider culture of just everywhere. But this is most observable in Western areas. Culture in of itself isn't exactly the best thing, but I can see its value in some sorts. Even chimpanzees have managed to have some sort of culture. So while I don't exactly like it, it's just sort of a fact of neurotypical life. Unfortunately, perhaps it isn't the best thing, but perhaps it can also be good. There's value in things. But I think there's more value in other things. And what else? So, it's what I was talking about earlier with all of that. the whole natalists movement and just environmental and a bunch of other things, just the whole desire for systemic change to make these societies less and less shit, in of itself could end up turning the society into shit, because it would allow, it would eventually, it just gives the government the authority to remove the shit thing. However, now that they have that authority, they're slightly more powerful. If you repeat this enough times with their power, human nature takes over, and through that they do what I outlined earlier. They try to gain more and more wealth, and then everything goes to shit again. The cycle repeats. It collapses over 1,000 years. It happens again and again and again. It will just keep happening, because that's how humans are. Well, I guess it was sort of the main topic of this video, so now for the rest of it, I'd like to just talk about other things that I've experienced or have insight on. And I guess somewhat relating to children, I've had some pretty nice experiences regarding children recently. And it was at Halloween, so I had to actually participate in the festivities somewhat. So I was just there in my fucking Teletubbies costume. So I created a Hat-Man costume and all of that, but I wanted it to be somewhat secret. So I was going to use that Teletubbies costume as a quick cover and then switch out of that and then go into the Hat-Man costume. I wouldn't even trick-or-treat, I'd just walk around, perhaps listen to music, watching the scenery in the nighttime. But such things can never happen to me, because I was forced into a group, and I only knew 2 people in the entire group of 10. I'm just estimating it's 10, it may be bigger, it may be slightly less, I don't know. But yeah, that's very awkward. But after that, after I was able to go home, there was a small party thing, which of course I dreaded, so I stayed in my room for most of it. But for the small times I did go out, I saw that there was a child, the little sister of my cousin, and she was dressed as Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's. And I had this Freddy thing, this Freddy Funko thing. It's not a Funko Pop, but it was just made by Funko. Sort of like an action figure, but not really. So I just give it to her, because I feel the need to. You may have heard that my grandmother's being sort of loud. Anyways, yes, I just felt the need to, I guess, improve the mood of the child, or just give the child a memory, because I had a memory. It was my aunt's friend. He was a teenager at the time, so around my age, and he gave me his DSi after my 3DS was briefly damaged from having a slushie poured on it. That was so generous of him, and I guess that's me just doing a similar thing for that child, giving her something that she'll always remember. And another thing that this other child wouldn't remember, because he seemed to be about 2 years old or whatever. He had a pacifier in his mouth, and he went up the stairs and he got to the foosball table. And I see him, I'm like, well, it's an interesting thing. Children are interesting. And I have this sort of fatherly instinct come over me. He goes over to the foosball table, he reaches in to get the balls, and he starts putting them in there, reaching over with the very tip of his hand to put the balls in. And right next to him is a ball repository where you can put the balls in. It's much lower. It's designed specifically for that. So what I do is I get a ball, I put it in front of his face. I then make the motion, I hover the ball above the repository. I do this about 3 times to cement it inside of his head. he then proceeds to put the ball into the repository and just keeps on putting more and more balls into there. So I taught a child a skill. And I feel like this could possibly reflect towards fatherhood and all that. I think it is good. I think parenting is very good. It brings much more value to one's life and all that. And my grandparents, because my parents were separated and never really got to see him that much, the ones that supposedly parented me, but they didn't really. I guess they tried, but their methods were very inefficient for me, so all I did was I just basically parented myself, and I also used the internet a lot. So I was essentially raised by the internet and myself. I never had friends, I never really had anything in regards to connections besides basic familial ones, which are sort of distant, and still are. So that's just what I do. I just used the internet and myself. So I didn't really have much in common with them. Now, what else do I have to think of to talk about? I'm not sure. But after just all the things I see and all the things that humans do, I feel disgusted with them. There is a good amount of good things that humans do, but for the most part I just see sludge. Utter sludge. And I guess that horror example would be like the best one or something. In regards to ones that aren't just straight up fucking killing people. I guess good of them are killing people, they're sort of killing their own children. Just to continue their lifestyle for money. For money. Money also just contributes to a lot of evil, but sort of needed, I guess, for things to function the way they are. But things don't have to function the way they are. And communism is retarded when you really look into it. It's not some weird primitivism, we're just kind of stuck with it. Yeah. I don't really know what to talk about anymore. Though there is actually one thing that I just discovered or read in my notes, and it's I reconnected with my mother a little bit on Halloween Day. It wasn't really meant to be a Halloween thing. It was more so November 1st. I just felt the urge to barely talk to my mother at all, and it's just interesting. I wonder what it would have been like if she actually could have parented me with my father. And so it turned out quite differently, I feel. But fate didn't go that way. Fate decided to go another way. And I suppose I am content with the way that fate has gone.